Heyo, Chris here, and thanks for tuning into the Delta, and welcome to the Power Rankings and Voodoo Wheel video, where we will go over the top 6 teams in Formula 1 according to my opinion, which is never wrong, and then finish the video off by spinning the voodoo to see who it will cast its mystic spells upon for this upcoming race. Last week it landed on Lewis Hamilton, who seemed not to be affected by voodoo whatsoever as he placed 3rd. Pew pew! Like and subscribe to the channel. We are growing at a accelerated rate, actually, more so than normal, and I can't be more thankful for your guys' support and comments and all the things in between with the likes, subs, and whatnot. Another thing is, as you can see, I am in my Delta Mobile, is what I called it prior to this, and as much as I would love to look directly at you guys while going over the power rankings, this video is also very note intensive, so I'll always be looking at my notes, and I apologize for that. But because I'm in my vehicle, there's nowhere to put the notes and the camera where I can be looking at you constantly, so please accept my apologies for not being directly looking at you. As well as the last vehicle I was in was called the Delta Mobile, but this truck is a hefty big boy and has a 5.7 liter Hemi engine in it. So I would like you in the comments to let me know, what should we call this new Delta Mobile? It feels like a Delta Mobile doesn't serve it justice. Let me know in the comments what you think. But let's get into those power rankings. There's going to be no new additions or removals of my power rankings for this weekend's race, but I do think we should discuss the V-Carb. RB was in the power rankings for a while there in the beginning of the season, but then quickly got outperformed by Haas and even for a brief stint Alpine. Now, RB has managed to get back on track, and they are teetering on the edge of making the power rankings and not making the power rankings. They just didn't put together everything they needed there in Hungary to get onto the power rankings, where I felt there was an opportunity for them to do so. So they don't make the power rankings there for round 14, but they did have a solid performance, or at least performed better than Haas. So they might have a ticket back into the power rankings and be eligible for the Voodoo Wheel after this weekend. Which leads me then into my number 6 team, and it is Haas. Haas loses a spot in my power rankings for this round, mainly because I felt that they left some meat on the bone there in Hungary. They had a really good showing there in Great Britain and Austria, and I was hoping to see them carry that over into Hungary. But not scoring points in that race is a massive ding on their power ranking standings. They didn't perform dreadful, just not well enough to keep that 5th place spot. They currently have 27 points in the Constructors and 6 points behind RB at 7th place. That is why the 6th place spot is not safe for them. They need to find a way to have a good performance here in Belgium, and more importantly, at least perform better than RB to keep it. On to number 5, I have Aston Martin. Aston Martin actually gains a spot then in the power rankings. They did an alright job in Hungary with Stroll getting P10 and Alonso P11. By no means was this an amazing result or anything like that, but they did show some improvements compared to their more recent outings. They definitely look better than the back half of the competition, but they are certainly not at the Ferrari level either. So it's tough to put them any higher than 5th, and I guess you could have an argument that they might still be in 6th. But they do. They have 69 points.
Nice.
In the Constructors standing, with a decent lead over RB, but well behind Mercedes. Aston Martin is basically the prime meridian of the F1 teams. If you are better than Aston Martin, you are on the top half of the competition. And if you're below Aston Martin, you have some work to do. At number 4, I have Ferrari. Ferrari got lucky this round, in my opinion. I said I was not afraid to have Haas jumping them in the power rankings if Haas put together a solid performance while Ferrari puts together then another stinker. While I still feel Ferrari is disappointing, they managed some decent results there in Hungary while Haas underperformed. So, as of now, Ferrari still safely holds the 4th place spot in the power rankings. Now, McLaren did jump Ferrari in the constructors' standings, and they currently are in 3rd place with 322 points. I expected this to happen prior to the Hungarian Grand Prix. McLaren is just on another level, and Ferrari seems to be floundering. Whether it's strategy, or the car, or driver error, they just seem not to have it all together. They are currently dealing with a bouncing car problem that seems to have been mitigated some there in Hungary, but if they don't improve upon it more for Spa, I expect they will have a poor race that may affect their future standings in the power rankings. Number 3, Mercedes. Mercedes holds the 3rd place spot in the power rankings pretty comfortably. They are clearly not at the McLaren level quite yet, and despite being 4th in the constructors with 241 points behind Ferrari, they are clearly better than them. A Mercedes driver has made podium in the last 5 races, and in that stint, Russell won Austria and Hamilton won Silverstone. The car is pretty much a different beast from where they started in the beginning of the season, and it only seems to be improving as the year goes on. Spa offers a very unique challenge where teams will have to sacrifice something to excel at another part of the track for a good lap. I feel like Mercedes is one of the few teams that will manage to perform well where they need to and not lose much in the areas where they decide to sacrifice. So maybe, just maybe, if they put together an amazing performance this weekend, they can approach the discussion of moving up a spot in the power rankings. Number 2, Red Bull. And why can Mercedes possibly move up to the number 2 spot? Well, we know McLaren is better than them, so it has to be because Red Bull has been dethroned from the top spot on the power rankings. This isn't because Red Bull sucks or Verstappen isn't a good race car driver. They are indeed still elite. But the thing I love about the power rankings is that it weighs a little heavier on the recent results, more than just regular standings where you get some point system put together. And as of recently, Red Bull has been outdone by their closest competition. Verstappen hasn't won in 3 races in a row, and Red Bull has only gotten to the podium 3 of the last 6 races. Again, that doesn't mean that they suck or they aren't performing at a level of the number 1 spot, but they held the top spot for so long that it just seemed that their commanding lead was deserving of the top spot in the power rankings. But now they are just 51 points ahead of McLaren at 389 total points in the constructors. Perez is a crapshoot every single weekend, and even when he has a salvageable race, it still isn't a great result. Max Verstappen is moaning over the radio. The car isn't performing to the standards that we're all accustomed to, and the strategies aren't ideal for their top driver. I really find it difficult to see Red Bull spiraling out of control, like at a Ferrari level, and losing their championship standings. But with recent events unfolding, you at least have to ask, can Red Bull right the ship and hold on to the leads that they currently have? Number 1, McLaren. With Red Bull out of the number 1 spot, that leaves McLaren. Just as I said, Red Bull has been struggling to reach podiums. Get this, since China, a McLaren driver has reached podium, and in Hungary, a double podium, and with wins in both Hungary and Miami. McLaren has managed to not just catch Ferrari, but surpass them in the Constructors' Championship. Lando Norris has a comfortable lead over Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship, and Oscar Piastri is approaching Carlos Sainz. And if Piastri gets another victory here in Belgium, while Leclerc lays an egg, like, Ferrari's prone to do, you could see Piastri leave Spa and going into the summer break in 3rd place. I will say that this isn't a solid stay for McLaren. If they underperform and get rightly outdone by Red Bull this weekend, they will lose the number 1 spot. But I have heard from an inside source that Max Verstappen may be getting some new car parts, which may result into a grid penalty for Spa. If that does happen, I can see a cool and easy run for McLaren this weekend that will solidify their #1 spot in my power rankings. And there you go. Those are my top 6 teams in the current standings of Formula One. McLaren finally has proven, in my opinion, that they are the best team out on track. And it will be interesting to see if they can hold on to it. And it will also be interesting to see on the back end if RB can make it back into my power rankings, or if Haas can hold on to that 6th place spot or even advance. Maybe they do better than Aston Martin. They flip-flop again. But that will lead us then into the fun little segment called the Voodoo Wheel. As I stated in the beginning of this video, we landed on winner's woes, which affects the winner of the previous race, and that was Lewis Hamilton, who seemed to have just told George Russell to absorb his voodoo and not get out of Q3. But yeah, Sir Lewis Hamilton defeated the voodoo, and we'll see where we land this week for the Belgian Grand Prix. We'll get that spin underway now. We always start where we have, okay, and we spin. That was a good spin. It felt really, really, really good. Left my hand like throwing a perfect spiral football. You just know. Oh my God. We can't do it. This wheel hates Ferrari. I do know for a fact that it shit all over Ferrari when it landed on for Canada. A few races prior, it also landed on it, and I believe it was Austria. And what happened? Leclerc screwed up in qualifying and ended up getting lapped. So if history can show to be true, Ferrari is going to get banged again in Belgium. It's the most typical Ferrari thing ever. They can't get out of their own way, and now on top of that, getting the voodoo, we're screwed. All right, well that's it. That's the end of the video. Ferrari going down. Double DNF, that's my prediction. Let me know what you think the voodoo is going to do to Ferrari. But until next time, take care, stay safe, and have fun out there. Bye, everybody.